All right, y'all. I got a recommendation from somebody about this one, and I actually think it's kind of interesting. I really wanted to watch it because it kind of ties into a video that I made a couple months ago about basically it's something about Michael Jackson paving the way for other artists and why they can't be compared to Michael Jackson. But yeah, anyways, this kind of ties into that video, and I kind of wanted to check it out and see how it relates to that video. But yeah, let's go ahead and get down to the nitty-gritty and let's check it out. Let's get it.
Have you noticed how today's biggest artists all start to seem familiar? The sound, the moves, the branding. It's like you've seen it all before.
Yep.
You see, the truth is, you've been listening to Michael Jackson this whole time.
That iconic look.
The music industry is filled with talented stars. But behind the spotlight, the choreography, and the studio polish, they're all performing different versions of the same man. Today, we're breaking down the 4 archetypes of Michael Jackson and how today's artists are still living in his shadow. The man rarely spoke, but when he did, the world stopped.
Yep.
Michael Jackson's mystery man persona was built on distance, shadows, ambiguity. You never really knew him, and that was the point.
Yo, I say a lot of people misunderstand me. It's because they don't know me.
From the black fedora and the one-word answers, Michael Jackson perfected the mystique. In that silence, it made the music louder. Modern artists have adopted this mask. The Weeknd's entire After Hours rollout was a masterclass in character performance.
Oh yeah.
Red suit, no.
Oh yeah. If anybody really resembles Michael Jackson, it's The Weeknd. The Weeknd definitely has it. If anybody else, it's Chris Brown. that's just. Yeah, that's that.
Interviews, facial injuries, cryptic visuals. And what about her? You know what she looks like now, but she hid her face for years. Let the riffs do the talking. Frank Ocean vanished until it was time to say something that mattered. And Billie Eilish, in her early career, she wore oversized clothes to hide her physique. Kept everything dark and moody, even with the whisper vocals. She turned anonymity into aesthetic, just like MJ did decades before.
Wow.
This isn't just minimalism. This is what's called mystery marketing, a deliberate branding choice where less visibility equals more power. And Michael Jackson wrote the rule book by creating emotional distance. This is why fans constantly passed out at his shows, or why there was instant pandemonium as soon as he made an appearance. He became a unicorn. But let's not just look at the artist. Let's take
That's
a
a good way of putting it.
Because to really understand how deep the influence runs, you have to hear it. Let's compare 4 intros that create an eerie theatrical tone with just the voice, all drawing inspiration from Michael Jackson's song, Who Is It?
Okay.
Michael Jackson's Who Is It starts off with just his voice, a distant, almost sacred air. It builds tension without revealing its full hand. Now let's listen to the intro of The Weeknd's Every Angel Is Terrifying.
Haven't heard this song.
That same cryptic energy,
I see.
but that's dialed into a full-on sci-fi broadcast. Now Lady Gaga's Government Hooker.
Haven't heard this song.
It's MJ's cathedral-like atmosphere.
I see it. I
gone
see what he's talking about.
cyberpunk, rigid, old mystery through orchestral vocals. Now before he sang, he danced.
Yep.
Michael Jackson didn't just move to the beat. He was the beat.
Yep.
But Mike didn't invent those moves out of thin air. MJ studied the greats. James Brown gave him that fire. Fred Astaire gave him the glide. The Nicholas brothers gave him the finesse. He absorbed decades of dance history and
Took a lot of
distilled it into
practice.
something that felt brand new. He turned borrowed rhythm into visual storytelling. Even the moonwalk, his most iconic move, he didn't invent it. Its roots trace back to the 1950s when Cab Calloway and later performers like Bill Bailey were seen doing a version of it known as the backslide.
Wow.
Street dancers like Jeffrey Daniel of Shalimar refined it in the 70s, gliding across the floor in ways that made people question gravity. But MJ, he perfected it, made it look effortless, refined every detail. And then he dropped it live on national TV in 1983.
Yep. Billie Jean.
In that moment, it stopped being a dance move. It became a myth. This was the dancing machine, MJ. The kinetic lightning bolt, a master of rhythm, sharpness, and control. And now that torch has been passed. Chris Brown's footwork, He fused Michael's dangerous era with the crumpin' style from the mid-2000s. Chris Brown has even been compared and referred to as the modern-day Michael Jackson, along with Justin Bieber in his early days.
He's everyone's inspiration. Like everyone, you know, whether you're a country artist or you're a rapper, most people look at Michael Jackson as one of their top inspirations.
But let's be honest, that's a crown that will never be touched.
Dude, I will always ponder what Michael was actually like, because you guys speak so highly about him and so crazy about him and want me constantly to react to different things from Michael Jackson, but I never got the opportunity to know what he's like. So it's just like I just constantly ponder why people just make I get why people make such a big deal out of him, but at the same time, like, I'll never know, because I'll never get to experience it for myself. I'll never get to see it for myself, because I was so young and I barely knew who he was, and my parents didn't teach me about him, and I never knew anything about him until now. So it's just like, I get why people talk so much about him. I get how big he was, but I'll never get to experience it for myself. So it'll always just leave me wondering how big he actually was. I can only go off what people tell me. I can't see it for myself because he's already gone, and rest in peace to him. But yeah, it sucks.
Now let's look at Usher. Usher is the closest to Michael's era and is probably the pioneer of the modern MJ trend. That way he does his iconic glide, it's MJ with an Atlanta twist. Now Atlanta also gave birth to another Jackson-inspired star. If Usher is Michael, then Ciara is Janet. She channels Jackson precision with a fresh, athletic intensity, like his footwork reimagined through a modern female lens. Because Michael's music is mainly focused around R&B and disco, we can draw many comparisons, but let's look at a couple of direct influences. Thriller is arguably the greatest album of all time. Now let's listen to The Weeknd's Wake Me Up. Now this one is a more direct replica of Thriller, so much so that The Weeknd and Justice had to give writing credits to the songwriter of Thriller, Rod Temperton.
Yep.
It has spaced out chords, similar drum programming, and a bass line that walks with that Thriller confidence.
Yep.
And lastly, we have About Damn
Definitely
Time
sounds like
by Lizzo.
Thriller.
Listen closely to the guitar riff, clean, rhythmic, and undeniably funky. A clear callback to Rock With You.
I hear it.
Then you layer in that lead synth at the end. It walks the same
I
line
hear
as
it.
MJ's glossy disco era production. Both tracks don't just lean into funk, they float on it, using minimal.
Then again, I didn't even know that Rock With You was a thing. I heard Lizzo's About Damn Time first. So before Rock With You, like Lizzo showed it to me first. I didn't know Michael Jackson was a thing until, yeah, now it's just, I don't know, man. This is just so weird because this is just all like messing with my mind. Like I never would have thought that like people would be taking after Michael this way. It's just, it messes, being a new gen kid and being a new, like, well, not a new gen kid, but like being a 05 kid who's never really heard of him, but has listened to like all like the modern day artists, like, you know, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Weeknd, Bruno Mars, Lizzo, all of the newer artists like XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD. It's just weird knowing how all these people took after Michael because he was such a big inspiration to everybody, and I had no idea about it. So I don't know, man. I kind of feel left out.
Minimalist elements to create maximum groove. Rock With You was a slow burn love song to the dance floor, and Lizzo's track revives that mood with a modern twist. Celebratory, confident, but still grounded in that same musical DNA.
The soft
Michael
boy.
wasn't just a performer. He was a romantic, a balladeer.
Yep.
The soft boy MJ was the man behind the moonwalk. Sensitive, dreamy, full of yearning. And that part of him never left. We see the same sensual sensitivity in Neo.
Yep.
The heartache like a velvet blade. And JT rides that same sweet falsetto wave that MJ carved decades later. And Drake? Well, Drake is many different people in one, but when he's in his soft boy mood,
Of course, it had to
he's
be Drake.
channeling Mike too. He uses MJ style vulnerable vocals and makes them colder.
Of course, it had to be Drake that you threw a little bit of shade on, and rightfully so.
And more detached. Like the soft boy reimagined through a modern filter of emotional restraint and melodic rap.
He is the greatest entertainer of all time, and that's what you have to do. You know, you have to push yourself, and he pushed himself further and further did things that I can't even comprehend, like choreographed dancing and, you know, all instrument, like playing instruments, everything. I mean, he was just, he was the greatest.
Neo leans into it the most with his dance moves and even does the Michael vocal sound effect. But JT keeps it sweet and raspy, similar to Michael's ballads.
He really was and always will be, you know, the king of pop. To create the things that he created with his music, I mean...
Oh, Justin Timberlake.
Really,
Bro, I was like, who the fuck is JT? Whatever the freak he said. I dead ass did not know that was another name for Justin Timberlake. I'm so uncultured when it comes to music.
touchable.
Now speaking of
artists.
ballads, let's take a look at the biggest soft boy ballad of all time, Human Nature.
Yep.
Now there's something about Human Nature that artists just can't seem to resist. It has to be the most sampled song of modern day history. Songs like Right Here by SWV, Chris Brown's She Ain't You. But what makes it so iconic? It's the sonic softness. The synth pads are airy and glassy. The guitar is delicate and tucked just behind the beat. And MJ's vocals float over everything. Now let's look at some obvious examples. Now, I promise this isn't a weekend video, but I'll be ignoring the elephant in the room if we didn't talk about I Feel It Coming.
Yep. True. Fair
This
enough.
song is one of the clearest examples of MJ's sonic fingerprint in modern pop.
I agree. I
Laid-back
agree.
groove,
That is a very Michael Jackson-esque song. I agree with that.
silky falsetto, and warm analog textures all echo the atmosphere of Human Nature.
I always use Michael as, first and foremost, as a vocal inspiration. And Off the Wall was definitely the one that made me feel like I could sing. I found my falsetto because of Off the Wall.
And we
Really?
can go one step further and listen to Bruno Mars's Versace on the Floor.
Yep, I hear it in this one
Both songs
too.
build their mood with soft, suspended synths and smooth, gliding chord progressions. The pacing is patient, the arrangement is minimal, and the vocal delivery is breathy, intimate, precise. Sabrina Carpenter is also not safe from the Michael bug. In her song Bed Chem, she also took inspiration from Human Nature. Take a listen to this.
Yep. Yep. Why? Tell them that this human nature.
It's not a sample or a copy, but this is what you call interpolation. Basically, when you take a piece of music, you move it around and twist it in a different way to where it's not the same, but it just kind of encompasses the same vibe
What
of
the
it.
fuck was that, bro? No. That was disgusting, bro. Never do that again to Michael. Never do that again.
And she does this perfectly with Bed Chem. Now, even though this next song we're about to talk about is not a ballad, it also taps into that soft boy era. I'm talking about that sweet, happy-go-lucky vibe of The Way You Make Me Feel. That crazy shuffle you hear in the rhythm section, you hear it again in The Weeknd's In the Night.
Yes, bro. I didn't even realize that. This is messing with my freaking brain because it's so true. I hear it now that he mentioned it. This is all messing with my brain, bro. This is messing with my brain.
You also hear it again unexpectedly in Ed Sheeran's new song, Azizim. Now, of course, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't call myself out for this. Here's a clip of my song I released a few years ago called Biggest Fan. So you see,
Yep.
I'm Michael, you're Michael, we're all Michael. When Michael stepped on stage in Bucharest, it wasn't a concert. It was like a praise and worship session. This was the rock star MJ. Loud, political, drenched in leather and surrounded by fire.
Yep.
He fused pop spectacle with rock aggression.
Still one of my
Think about the
favorite
guitars and
concerts for
beat,
Michael.
the military jackets, the snarling vocals in Dirty Diana, and the sheer theatrical violence of Scream. His message was massive. His energy was explosive, and his influence still very much alive. Let's start with Lady Gaga. Gaga took MJ's sense of spectacle and gave it teeth. Her performances are more than concerts, they're rituals. Songs like Married Tonight and Bad Romance walk the same line as Dirty Diana. Glam, tortured, and defiant.
I'm such a huge fan. I love him so much, like I knew him, but I didn't. And he was such an inspiration to me my whole life, and I really feel that the world killed him.
Now we got to talk about the most
I don't know, man. This is just, this is insane. I really thought all of my favorite artists had their had their own way of doing things, but I guess no. They were all just copying Michael Jackson. That's nuts. I genuinely cannot tell you guys how I hadn't heard of him until now. Like, you would have thought I'd pick up on it by now, but no, I guess I just had the misfortune of not knowing who he was until this stage in my life. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, this makes me feel bad because I understand why people made fun of me and like why people like think I don't know who he is. I understand it, but I don't know. It makes me feel bad because it's not my fault that I didn't know it's not my fault that I didn't know who he was. I just got into other artists. Nobody told me about Michael growing up. Nobody told me how big inspiration he was. Like, if he was so big, you would have thought people would be mentioning him around me all the damn time, and I would have known who he was. And then, you know, I would have heard the name more and often and tried to figure out who he was on YouTube or something. But no. When I was going to school, nobody told me about him. Nobody ever brought up his name ever. I very rarely heard his name be brought up ever around me. So all I had was Just Dance to get around. All I had was whatever songs I was listening to on YouTube. I don't think he ever came up on my recommendations very much either. I had Christian music growing up because that's what my parents were listening to on the radio before I got my phone or whatever. No. I cannot think of an instance ever where he was actually brought up that often to me. And going to high school, I was into EDM music like Alan Walker and, you know, Juice WRLD and XXXTentacion. That's where I really got into them. And then my younger people were Rihanna, Chris Brown, this and that and the other. Whatever 05, whatever 2010 music and 2014 music was around, whatever songs were around at that time period, those were usually the songs I was listening to. It's like Party in the USA, you know, Miley Cyrus, and any Justin Bieber, any earlier Justin Bieber song, any Taylor Swift song like Shake It Off. I don't know. I had the misfortune of not being able to listen to him. No, if more people had mentioned him around me when I was younger, or when I was like more of a kid, you know, listening to music from Just Dance and Rihanna, this and that and the other, if more people had mentioned him around me, I probably would have been able to know about him. I probably would have been able to, you know, get into more of his music when I was a kid, and then I'd know about him today. And we wouldn't even be here right now. That's kind of crazy. But no, nobody mentioned him around me. And it makes me feel bad because, I don't know, man. It makes me feel bad because I thought like all of my favorite artists had their own way of doing things. But everybody was just copying Michael, apparently. It makes me feel bad I didn't know about him until now. And he had this much of an impact on everybody. I don't know. I feel bad. Even though it's not my fault, I still feel bad.
I met him over Leon Cohen's house. And I just vibed out with him. And then, like, I think Michael the one that put that battery in my back to do 808s. I played Good Life. And he was like, who's that singing right there? I like that voice. It was my voice. He gassed me up. Next thing y'all know, y'all had me in the night of here. I was like, Michael Jackson told me I could sing. All y'all.
Kanye may have started in soul sample hip hop, but
that boy Kanye, bro.
Genre bending performance art mirrors MJ's rockstar ambition. Albums like Yeezus and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy didn't just blur lines between rap and rock, they exploded them. And when Kanye performs, it's not rap, it's an arena spectacle.
That's cold.
Like MJ, he doesn't just perform, he provokes. And no matter how hard he crashes out, the world just can't seem to look away.
Yep.
Now let's take a listen to the MJ rockstar sound. Mike's song Beat It was a crossover explosion. A pop song with a rock soul, gritty guitars, driving drums, and a guitar solo from Slash that cut like a knife.
'25th celebration anniversary, right?
Miley Cyrus and Dua Lipa song Prisoner. It has that same energy, that same sense of urgency in the vocal delivery. The songs are even in the same key. Big chorus, sharp vocals, all following that MJ formula. So Michael's legacy isn't frozen in time. It's active, ongoing, embedded in the DNA of today's biggest stars.
Dang, that's crazy.
Some channel his sound and others echo his image. The mystery man, the dancing machine, the soft boy, the rock star. Honestly, these artists aren't copies. They're continuations. each one adding a new verse to the story that MJ started.
They carry on the
So
legacy.
next time you find yourself vibing to your new favorite song or really loving that new artist,
That's crazy. Dark Horse.
does it feel familiar? Because you might just be listening to Michael Jackson. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think as long as we add something new, we should keep his legacy going.
Yep.
Now, in this video, we've talked a lot about The Weeknd, and he's gone on record to say that Michael Jackson is his biggest influence. Now, he's not just a Michael clone. He has his own style, his own vibe, his own twist that he put on the Michael archetype.
Yeah, man, I don't know, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I genuinely don't know what to say, but it makes me feel bad. That's all I can say. It just makes me feel bad. If it was me being younger and I had the opportunity to listen to him being younger, I would have said yes right off the bat, but I don't know. I didn't get that opportunity. Maybe God wasn't, maybe God was just like, you're not meant to know about Michael Jackson until later in your life when you're 19 or whatever. Maybe God just decided not for me to not listen to him when I was younger, but I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy because that just messed with my whole head, bro. That's crazy. That's insane. I really don't know what to say. I feel bad. I feel bad. I don't know. I feel bad.